Namaskar and good evening, friends. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Manjul, who is India's star archaeologist and led the team that made those wonderful discoveries at Sinauli, and which is currently very busy digging up yet another very interesting Sindhu Saraswati dig at Rakhigarhi. Welcome to PLF, sir.
Thank you, and I think it's a great privilege for me to be here in Pondicherry, Pondy Literature Festival. Thank you very much.
So, I'm going to start off by asking a non-historian question. We all read the epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and we all want to know the historicity of Itihasa. Of course, thanks to internet and social media historians, we know more or less that the Mahabharata happened around 1500 BCE, which is a period that is referred to as the painted greyware period. Can you tell us about the historicity of the epics and whether any work is happening, archaeologically speaking, to establish that?
Thank you. It's really a very interesting questions. First of all, I would like to say about the Itihasa, because in Indian concept, Itihasa is entirely different. If you think about the Western point of view, Itihasa is entirely different. That is, but Indian context, that's a story writing having mixture with lot of other things like philosophy, contemporary situation, society, rituals, many things compiled together, having the input of Itihasa, which is in the Western concept. So our Mahabharata or Ramayana or the Vedas or the Purana or the Brahman Granth. So there is a long list of Indian literature having many things related to Itihasa. So we have to segregate those things, the Itihasa, what is actually related to Itihasa and what is related to other story, to make the popular literature for the public. So that is the reason our literature like Ramayana, Mahabharata, that is inside even today by everyone across the country. So that is actually Itihasa. And another, the understanding archaeologically or in other subject like Mahabharata. Mahabharata is really important because in early 60s or even before that, Professor B.V. Lal started a project for archaeological understanding of Mahabharata and Ramayana. And they have started some of the site, digging up some of the site like Hastinapur and other, some Kaushambi and other site also, and they try to relate the archaeological finding to with the Mahabharata, and they have suggested that the painted greyware, probably the painted greyware culture is responsible for the Mahabharata. But now we have done so much of work, and recently excavation at Sinauli, excavation at other places and many other findings, even in Hastinapur and Kaushambi. So we try to relook the dates with the different parameters. Like Mahabharata, if you understand Mahabharata, the starting from 8,000 verses to 20,000 verses up to 1 lakh and more than 1 lakh verses. It's a long journey of Mahabharata, having so much of information inside. First, we have to understand the culture of Mahabharata. culture of Mahabharata, like Mahabharata is heroic culture, we all know, having the urban settlement, particularly the Hastinapur or Indrapat or other Tilpat or some other places, having the urban kind of settlement. But in case of PGW culture, that is entirely rural culture.
Oh.
So there is no comparison with the urban settlement with the rural culture, as well as what are the components available in Mahabharata, like horse, the chariot, the weapons, and lot of heroes having expertise in many of the weapons or many of the different kind of warfare. And another thing, if you understand, there is more than 25, 26 places name is there in Mahabharata itself. And then what about the archaeology of other places? Because they are the contemporary.
Yeah.
They are also involved in the fighting in Mahabharata.
What other places? Give
Like the Krishna from Mathura. And even in the family, like Gandhari is from Gandhara, Panchali from Panchal, Jarasandh from Magad. Like that, there is a lot of diversity and family relation, political relation, everything there in visible in Mahabharata. So what we try to understand now, the archaeology of Hastinapur itself going back to around 1900 or 1800 BCE. Okay. Before the painted graveware culture, there is culture named OCP, Ochre Coloured Pottery ware, along with the copper hoard. Copper hoard means that there is lot of weaponry we are got in many places, like sword, antenna sword, also a variety of sword in fact, and harpoons, double-sided sword, all made of copper, the ring, the anthropomorphic figure. So these are the high grade of craftsmanship, technological advancement you can see in that metallurgy. And along with that, particularly if I cite Sinauli, Sinauli is also located one of the strategic location which is mentioned in Mahabharata, that's a Bagpat. And after the Bagpat, you can cross the Yamuna and enter into the Diswatwati river and go to the Kurukshetra around. So that's actually right from the Hastinapur to Kurukshetra. The in between the Bagpat, where we got the Sinauli, and the finding of Sinauli clearly indicate that around 2000 to 1700 BCE, having a lot of very interesting material like gold ornaments, one bangle around 250 gram, the solid bangle. You can understand the culture, the wealth of the culture. You can, we have the silver object, we have the semi-precious stone, we have the weapons like antenna sword, helmet, chariot, shield, chest shield. So there is lot of things there in that context, and that is dated in around 1800s.
I am amazed at this. Thank you so much. This is such an interesting discovery. You're hearing it for the first time here. Dr. Manjul says that the Mahabharata, it can be definitively dated earlier than what it was thought to be. Earlier it was painted graveware. Now he's talking about something called OCP, which is a copper culture, and which is very sophisticated. Lots of battle accoutrements, lots of jewelry that has been discovered at sites like Sinauli. Very interesting. Now I want to ask you at this point, because we are having this conversation, this culture that you are talking about, is it possible that this culture also had maybe a millennium or half a millennium run, and therefore the events that we see in Mahabharata also is a culmination? You know, there's a dynasty
Yeah.
You see that there are several generations of kings culminating in that
Yeah.
war,
Yeah.
right? So is it possible that the OCP, digs that you have had and the stuff that you have unearthed actually is at a point when, but the civilization itself could be earlier than that?
Actually, if you see the lot of dates we have right from 2500 BCE, that is the contemporary of late mature phase or mature phase of Harappan civilization.
Correct.
We have a lot of sites in Ganga, Yamuna, Doab, and actually that mature phase of that culture, particularly OCP Copperhood culture, that is 1900 to 2000 BCE. That's a mature phase actually. And then contemporary culture, like in Mathura, we have that kind of deposit and evidences in Mathura also. In 1800 BC, we have the evidences at Dwarika also. We have the evidence of Gandhar also. So we have the evidence of Magad also, Rajgir and all that. So that shows in that time there is very, very flourished culture, particularly OCP and the contemporary culture. Like sometime it's called late Harappan, sometime it's called black and red ware, and because that is contemporary one. But in the core area of Mahabharata, like Kuru Vansh and Panchala, having the similar kind of OCP and copperhood material. So the core area having copperhood and OCP, but the peripheral area or other side having the contemporary culture. Because if you see in Mahabharata, every hero is having its own character,
that is true,
own expertise, own culture. So you cannot make a single culture or single pottery culture with Mahabharata. You can correlate with the other culture also.
Correct.
So that is the reason I strongly suggest that probably 18 to 1700 BCE the Mahabharata happened, but the Mahabharata culture is little before that. Like one example I can quote of Rig Veda. In 10th mandal of Rig Veda, there is references of the Dasragya Yuddha and other war also. In that war also they have used chariot and all that. So that and after the Dasragya Yuddha, there is few names that is mentioned in the Rig Veda, 10th mandal, and also the Mahabharata. So that continuity is also, you can see, that's a very clear indication that yes, there is a continuity of philosophy, literature, and with the Rig Veda to Mahabharata.
Way of life.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you, as an archaeologist, can you please tell us what kind of digs are being done now to establish this timeline and historicity of our itihasa? Is some work happening on the on Dwarka, which is submerged in the ocean? Is some work happening on the other sites that you have just talked about? Magadha, you've talked about Panchal, you've talked about Kurukshetra and other places. What kind of work is happening on that?
Actually, at present there is several work going on by the Archaeological Survey of India, various teams involved in that excavation, and also the lot of universities also doing excavation. Recent excavation which I am conducting last 3 years, that is Rakhigarhi, one of the biggest Harappan site at entire subcontinent. And also little bit back I have done excavation one of the another site in Pakistan border, that's called Binjor. That is also Harappan site, right from 5000 BCE to 1900 BCE.
Continuous.
There is continuous sequence. In Rakhigarhi also, we got the sequence from right from 6000 BCE to 2000 or 1900 BCE.
Okay.
So that's really a very interesting evidence coming up with the various sites. Some site having the mature Harappan context, some site having OCP and copper hood context also. Near the Mathura, one excavation is going on where we got OCP and copper hood material there. And Rakhigarhi, obviously in Rakhigarhi also we got the copper hood material.
Oh.
Now, that's a very, very interesting. Just close to the Harappan mound, they have not occupied Harappan mound.
Okay.
So there is another settlement, we got the OCP and one harpoon also there of copper harpoon.
Harpoon?
Yeah, that's a really interesting.
That is very interesting.
And if I speak about the Rakhigarhi, one of the amazing site of Harappan civilization.
Can you describe why?
Yeah. In earlier, there was 3 important excavation conducted there in Rakhigarhi. First conducted by Archaeological Survey of India, Dr. Amreen Nath, and second time Professor from Deccan College, he has conducted excavation there, and they have conducted, or particularly at the site of burial site, Professor Sanjay conducted that excavation. And third excavation I try to do so every excavation having its own character, own responsibility, own target for understanding. I try to understand the settlement pattern, which has not been described earlier by any of the excavator, and also I try to understand the water management system, which has not been described by any of them, and also the dried river close to that is also not determined by any of them.
Is that Ghaggar?
It's a Driswatwati river, now it's called Chautan. That is tributary of the Ghaggar or ancient Saraswati. That's an important one, because without the understanding of the river system, water management system and town planning, you cannot understand any of the culture.
Correct.
So now what we recovered in this excavation, which is really amazing. So mound number 3, there is 7 mound there, and almost all the mound have been excavated by the earlier excavator, but mound number 3 has not been touched by any of them because of one of the mazar there at the top. So I try to do the excavation at mound number 3 and mound number 1 and mound number 7, that is a burial site. Mound number 3, I got a huge structural evidence, that is probably double story building of 1 meter of breadth wall, every wall having almost 1 meter thick. And also the very, very interesting finding is like auditorium.
There was an auditorium?
Actually, it's a stepped structure
like a
for the public.
Yeah.
Like it's a both side, mound number 1, mound number 3 and mound number 2. And in between there is huge flat land for ceremony, etc. And then the stadia having the step structure around 1 meter steps of each, and probably we have not excavated the entire area, but probably it's a 60 meter long and 18 meter breadth, and having 14 meter of inclination, which is ideal for the modern stadia also.
Yeah.
So it's one of the oldest stadia of the world.
This is very interesting. Viewers, please note again another brilliant discovery by Dr. Manjul here. He says that in Rakhigarhi, he and his team have discovered what is presumably or definitively the world's oldest stadium.
Yeah. The similar kind of evidence we have in the Gujarat Dholavira also,
Yes.
but there is no clear evidence of a step
Okay.
sitting arrangement. But here we have a very clear evidence, and the mentor or my mentor, Dr. R.S. Bist, who has done excavation at Dholavira, they have seen and they have said it's a wonderful discovery. I think it's amazing for understanding of Harappan culture or Indus Saraswati culture. And another important discovery we have made in this year itself, that is probably it's a huge water body.
Okay.
Just close to
What kind of water body?
it's a for the water management or storage of water, because the climatic condition is entirely different around 2500 BCE to 2000 BCE, because the river is drying up also, so they need a water management system. So probably they have channelized the water from the river to a tank.
Okay.
So that tank is around 3.5 meter deep, probably. So we have to expand
So this is
our.
bigger than the Great Bath?
Yeah, of course, probably. So we have to excavate more now to understand the length, breadth, etc. How they have do the water management system for irrigation and to flourish the cultural settlement all around, because it's a huge settlement, more than 350 hectare area. So it's a large settlement having the different mound, different settlement like industrial settlement, the probably citadel also, probably for the general public or middle town or lower town, etc. So yes, this need a very good water management system. Without the survival particularly or the growth of the city cannot be happen.
So can I say then, as a journalist, I can't stop myself from using headline stuff. Can I say that we have discovered a stadium in India that predates the Colosseum by a couple of millennia?
Yeah.
There you go. We have a stadium which predates the Colosseum by a couple of millennia. Brilliant. So my question here will be that while doing these digs, have you come across a Rosetta Stone or something that will help us decipher the Indus script?
We are waiting. But yes, lot of researchers are doing to decipher the script. But the problem is really a Rosetta Stone.
Yeah.
We don't have the bilingual or any of the inscription. But yes, in 2007, I have published one article in Pragdhara that has the anthropomorphic figure dated back to possibly 1900 or 1800 BCE. That's related to copper hoard, having 10 letter inscription over that. So that's a very, very similar to Harappan script and also the Brahmi script.
Oh.
So that's a very interesting finding, but it's a solitary example of that. And also nowadays there is a lot of the similar pictorial graffiti, or there in the South India's there is a lot of sites, Kodumanal and other site also. So the similarity is there, but we don't know the phonetic value of those. And then time period is also a very lot of gap in time period. So yes, we have to be waiting for Rosetta Stone, and also maybe the artificial intelligence can help for deciphering of the enigmatic script.
So I have two questions very quickly. Number one is, when you say this particular inscription has similarities with both the Sindhu Saraswati script as well as Brahmi, does that mean that our idea of Brahmi as a script and its antiquity now needs to change?
Yeah, of course, we have to rethink about that, because this is my little hunch about that, because the people migrated from the Saraswati Valley or their tributaries or to many of the region. Particularly if you see the pattern of migration nowadays in Punjab or other places, some people are there, particularly the older generation is not try to move anywhere. But if you have the job from either in the Canada or in the US or UK, anywhere, they migrate in the bunch. Like that also the Harappan people, who are the expert of the making of copper, they have migrated in the source area and then local settlement, amalgamated with local settlement. Okay. Like that the bead makers also migrated in different region like Gujarat and other region where that material is available. So that is the reason there is lot of fusion happen. So now what happen, if you try to see the element, you will find the element in South Indian sites, you will find the element in North Indian sites, you will find elements in other Central India or other places. So there is some of the evidences or some of the cultural relation you can trace in many of the settlement in the later phase. So that's actually diffusion of the culture. So that is the reason the core knowledge like making weight and measures, etc., they have not used because the local need is entirely different. So that is the reason many things you cannot find in the later concept, and also it's depend on the surrounding, like the resources available at that area. Like in Upper Ganga Yamuna Doab, the resources entirely different. It's not a semi-arid zone. It has the alluvial plain having lot of water available, the flood zone, there is lot of timber. So why they need to make a mud brick? So there is no use to make a mud brick or a burnt brick. So they use timber.
Correct.
So that the culture, if you see the culture changing scenario in many of the reason, they use the local resources.
Okay.
So that is the reason the culture diffused in many reasons. That's why we get sometime the continuity in the pottery, sometime continuity in the bead, sometime continuity in the graffiti. Another thing, if you see the international trade, because of the change of the plates, like particularly in Gujarat coast, Kutch region, so there is local plate. So there is changing of the local plates. So that area is uplifted. So that converted into run. In that time there is possibly sea.
Oh, so hence harpoon.
Yeah. So then they trading from there itself, then it's compelled to shift toward the another place,
I see.
like that.
I see.
So there is lot of problem, particularly environmental problem, dryness of river. It's happened not only the Indian subcontinent, but the contemporary civilization also. So that compelled to be change ourselves to fight. It's a stress management in fact. So if you have the stress, you can adopt in different technology, different things.
So I want to ask you whether there have been many digs happening in and around Tamil Nadu. Killari has become very popular, famous. You are saying that the diffusion of culture is all, it happened, the Harappan settlements sort of spread all over the country, and much of the digs that are coming up are contiguous with that. Is that true for, say, the culture that we see in Killari, for instance? And to what extent is there continuity right up to, say, the Sangam period, that kind of culture?
Philosophically, it's a really there is a lot of continuity you can see in philosophical things. But in archaeological dig like Killari and Adichanallur, Agram and many of the site. Yes, in cultural elements, you can say yes, some of the cultural elements are there in, but the time gap, because we don't have the date, scientific date from the Killari beyond 600-700 BCE.
Okay.
And also like Agram and other site, we have the earliest date around 1200 or 1300 BCE at this moment. But yes, probably we will get an earlier date also in this site.
As the dig.
Yeah. Because we have a lot of evidence of early culture like Paleolithic culture, Middle Paleolithic deposit all around this region. Many sites right from the 1800 by the Britishers and all that, they have discovered many sites, Pallavarams and other sites. So what happened in between 12 or 1300 BCE to 16 or 60,000 year old? So there is a lot of gap in between of human evolution or human settlement. So yes, it's possible that we will get the human settlement at the earlier than that. But what we are searching? We are searching sometime the pottery. Pottery may not be there in 2000 or before that in this region, because there is no need of pottery. So the cultural gap, we have to understand what anthropogenic deposit is important.
Okay.
Whether anthropogenic deposit are there or not. Maybe there is no huge culture, not more developed culture, but early farming culture, or even earlier the microlithic culture, or some tool technology, or like that, the huts, rural culture may be there in this area. Because if you see the Harappans, traders, is reached at Mesopotamia and other site.
Yeah.
Why not in this
down
area?
south as well?
Down south. So yes, there is possibility, no doubt, but yet at this moment we don't have the continuous archaeological sequence at Tamil Nadu or this area to directly connect with the Harappan culture or Indus Saraswati culture with local. But yes, you can see the element, particularly the graffiti. There is lot of graffitis having similarity of particularly Tamil Brahmi similarity to the Harappan script. And also I just saw the museum of this area, excavation of the early excavation here in Pondicherry.
You mean Arikamedu?
Yeah, Arikamedu. So there is a lot of different evidence so it's need re-excavation at Arikamedu, and needs another scientific date also, may go beyond 500 BCE to, because there is a lot of material like perforated material, pottery is also there. Apart from the Roman context, we have the black and red ware and other potteries from there, and also the shell bangles, etc., which is possibly brought from the Gujarat region, that is not from here. It's just my hunch to be. So it's need actually reassessment of many of the site which has been done 60s or even earlier excavation. That time maybe our understanding is entirely different, because we have at that time there is lot of set pattern which is set by the Britishers or the colonial thought that the Rigvedic culture came
from outside.
Outside in 1500 BCE. So that is not every site is not go beyond that. Particularly the Iron Age came after that and all that. But we have latest date earlier than that.
Yeah.
So yes, the rethinking about that. So there all those settlement is very, very important. And then archaeological continuity from the other regions is really needed to be understood in broader perspective.
Just correct me if I am wrong, but there have been a couple of skeletons also that you have discovered in the Harappan sites.
Yeah.
So now, what does that tell us about the kind of people early Indians were?
Yeah, very interesting questions. We have done the DNA test, particularly in Rakhigarhi. One DNA discovered by Professor Sanjay, and they have made some scientific analysis also, and they told or suggested that this DNA is indigenous of early farmers. Which is not connected with the West and other settlement like steppe and all that. Similarly, we got two DNA from Sinauli also.
Okay.
That is also not connected with steppe. That is also very close to the Indus Valley civilization.
Okay. And
some of the DNA recently done at here itself in Tamil Nadu, that has some different DNA also, because here you can see the mixture of pottery of various kind of pottery, either the trade from the sea route, from the Romans, and then the Africans, they are coming also here for the trade of many of the trade. So here we have the mixture of DNA also. Nowadays, it try to understand the many of the Indian culture, either in the South India or in the North India or down to the Kashmir Valley, and also the most of the region having the Harappan DNA everywhere.
Okay.
That's also indicate that the diffusion of the culture with the other local culture, so that also indicate the same.
This is the final nail in the coffin of the Aryan Aryan invasion theory. If our DNA goes back to the Harappan times, and the DNA that is discovered shows no trace of any kind of steppe DNA, then that shows that the Aryans were basically a myth.
Actually, if you see the DNA, there is lot of mutation have been done later on. Now we all have DNA is mixture.
Yes.
Okay, because if you see the Harappan settlement that is there in Mesopotamia also, the colony of Milva, Okay. Even in Oman, our settlement
Because they were
is
trading.
there, because they are trading also, and they have the permanent settlement there.
Right.
So one of the inscription at Mesopotamia tell about the settlement of Harappan settlement, or Melwa settlement is there in.
But there were also
Mesopotamia.
much later, there were Indian trader settlements
Of
in
course.
Alexandria.
Of
That
course,
is mentioned
there
by
is
Greek scholars.
everywhere we have the settlement. So there is lot of mixture in our DNA also. The mutation is you can find in the modern DNA. So that is, but yes, we have the element of DNA from right from the Harappan to the modern time.
My final question is, how can we get historians to update history with the latest findings from archaeology?
It's a very, very pertinent questions. In fact, it's a difficult to say at this moment because the archaeology, if you see, the archaeology is having another path, historians having another path, the local belief of the general mass having another path, astronomical dates or archaeoastronomy having another path. So there is several paths parallelly. So it's need to reconcile all those together. Now the scientific evidences right from like Sinauli and also the Rakhigarhi or the many other site, whatever we get from the excavation, that need to incorporate in the textbook particularly to because nowadays the social media is a lot of prone, so they are actually listening many things from us, from lot of researches across the world, across the country also. So, and they are reading the textbook in another thing. So students is really confused. What is wrong? What is right? So it's a dire need
To update.
update the history book. Otherwise, it's a lot of confusion created in the social media, and then new researches about either from the Geological Survey of India or Archaeological Survey of India, Anthropological Survey of India, a lot of new techniques, new evidences coming up. So it's a dire need to change the long back written in the history book or the textbook for the students.
Dr. Manjul, thank you very much for this very engrossing conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me here. And it's a really a wonderful questions. I love this conversation. Thank you very much.